Let's talk about that idea of actually how we find the deal. I think it's important for you to understand that you're going to be dealing with, it almost sounds like a movie, right, Marco? The good, the bad, and the ugly. I think there was a movie there, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. That is what you're going to be finding when you're locating a subject property to do rehabbing on. When you look through properties, and yesterday was a good example, sometimes the outside will fool you. You'll look at the outside and you'll think, oh, this is going to be a complete mess on the inside. And it's beautiful. Sometimes the outside looks great, but the inside is a complete mess, okay? So that's kind of what I mean by the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're probably going to come across every different situation the more you focus on opportunities in your marketplace. I just want to talk about some quick ways to find deals. Very quick ways. Number one, a wholesaler. If you're focusing on Phoenix, for example, I would know who the players are in the wholesaling market. These are people that go to the market or to the monthly auctions, and they'll buy 10, 15, 20 properties in lump sum, and they'll flip them out. They'll buy them at wholesale, flip them out at less than retail to an investor. A quick way to find an opportunity there. I put drive for dollars here because many times in my career, I've been able to find properties that are either for sale by owner, or I contact the owner of the property and he or she doesn't even know they want to sell it. But just through conversation, I can get them to either think about selling or selling me the property. And I've had several occasions where I've actually had purchased properties where the seller has actually said to me, I can't believe I'm selling this. I didn't even know I wanted to sell this. And I almost tell them, for my next trick, I'm going to levitate, or something. They think it's kind of magical. But drive for dollars. Look for properties that have neglect, unkept landscaping, broken windows, something like that. If you can fish upstream and find properties prior to them going to foreclosure, you may be able to find some opportunity there, especially in a market where the property values are going up. When the property values are going down, it's not so valuable or not so necessary to drive for dollars in different neighborhoods. But when property values are going up, you can possibly work a deal with that owner if the math works out right, in which you buy their property through a number of different ways that we're going to talk about, own it or control it, and as time goes on, that value becomes higher, and that might be a good opportunity for you. Note that that property is not for sale. It's not with a real estate agent or broker. So it hasn't gotten to a professional to price it appropriately. Make sense?
Yep,
okay.
In the wheelchair across the street from her house. We could probably approach her.
Okay, so you've already got a target that you want to approach. Yes, Mark. Yeah, so what's to stop you from offering lower than market value in Fannie or Freddie situations? If there's no competition there, there's nothing stopping you. But if you've got a multiple bid opportunity, that's the thing that actually ratcheted up the price in the first place. So if that market's not hot, you're right, Mark, I would definitely go there and offer less than market value. But if you've got a market that's very hot, very saturated, like in Orlando, like in Atlanta, you may not get to do that because you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 offers coming in on that property. Okay? Good question, though. Good question. Yes?
I'm just wondering if you have any tips if you're doing business out of state. You're obviously not driving around looking for empty lots and names.
But your team is. Your real estate agent may be, or maybe your rehabber or contractor, or maybe a friend that you have in the marketplace. Hey, when you drive to work or when you drive to the grocery store, do you notice any homes that are kind of unkept that you might be able to approach and maybe even send a letter? Hey, you're a Canadian investor. You're going to send a letter to them And if, hey, they could get out of that property by selling it without using the paying the commissions of a real estate agent, that's maybe some of the things that you put in your letter, and they can get out of that issue. Remember what I said 2 days ago. When a property is for sale, there's always a problem to solve. Sometimes when there's a problem to solve, they haven't come to the conclusion yet that they need to sell it. They haven't come to the conclusion that they need to sell it. It might be your job to say, hey, you know, one way out of the problem, if you've missed some mortgage payments or you've got some tax payments due, or you know, maybe an unfortunate event happened within your family, health-wise or something like that, one of the solutions to that is to sell your home. We're a Canadian investment company, and that's exactly what we do, and you're in our target area. Does that make sense? Okay. Bird dogs, we talked about using real estate brokers and agents. Let me just get through this and I'll get right to your question. One of the things that I think is important for all of you, that if you're going to be working in a particular market, I'm using Phoenix because we're here in Phoenix, I would start a relationship with these real estate agents and brokers, because a lot of times if a property goes to MLS, it's almost too late. That's when all of your competition is able to see that investment. But when you have a real estate agent or a broker that you have a relationship with, you have a relationship with them, and because of that, they come to you with something that's called pocket listings. They know of properties that are coming on for sale prior to the public. So if you can get that information first, I think it gives you a little bit of an advantage for that. So make sure you're striking up relationships with agents and brokers. Okay, so let's talk about a wholesale deal a lot of times. Now this would be a formula. Some people's formulas are different, but this is an average formula in the rehabbing of a wholesale deal. You're going to take 75% of the ARV, after repair value, 75% of the ARV, and you're going to subtract your repair. Subtract your repair, that's going to be your price. That's a roundabout formula that you can follow in rehabbing, okay? Now you might say, John, I'm going to go in at 70% or I'm going to go in at 80%. I'll leave that up to you, but think about this formula. 75% of after repair value minus your repair. So let's say that we're talking about the after repair value being $100,000. You would say 75% of that is obviously $75,000. Let's say that we've got $10,000 in repairs. You're going to make an offer of $65,000. Does that make sense? Okay. You're building in your profit. You're building in your profit. So you may have to tweak that a little bit based on your local market, based on your situation, but this is a nice rule of thumb to follow. Okay, questions with this? Yes?
Just a little one. The repair. Because a lot of times when we do the calculation, we factor in closing costs, all these other pieces. Do we lump that in with repair?
You're going to lump that in with, yes, you would lump that in with repair. Yes, that's a good way to do it. Whatever it would cost you, yes. Whatever your skin is in the game. Whatever your expenses are, I would lump that in. Yep, and I'll change that on the slide to clarify that, but that's a good point.
John,
Yes.
in wholesale deals, do you have time to get a repair estimate?
Her question is, in wholesale deals, do you have time to get a repair estimate? Now I'm going to sound like an attorney. It depends. Do you ever have friends, who has friends that have trouble making decisions? How many? Or show of hands. Everyone. And they do something like this. You'll even ask them things like, hey, Joe, do you have trouble making decisions? And they'll be like, yes and no. Anyway. What was the question? No. Do you have time to get repairs estimates when you're dealing in a wholesale situation? I think you should have a good understanding of what repairs are needed. You may not know specifically, but you've got a really good understanding of that. And you'll do that by really working with your contractors, your rehabbers, your real estate agents. You saw yesterday on the bus, by the way, did you see how those agents, you know, because, by the way, did anybody ask them how many houses they sell a year? Nobody? Not one? Well, did you know each one of those agents sells about 50 homes a year, and they have historically? That's a lot of homes. That's 4 to 5 homes a month, okay? Or a little over 4 homes a month. That's hustling. They are hustling. And when I asked them, hey, what do you think the repair value is here? They were pretty good with that. They said at one point 40 to 50 on the one, and then they adjusted it to 50 to 60. But you can use your agents to get that information as well, okay? But you may have less time on a wholesale deal to get that. So you need to be a little bit more prepared, okay? Yes, Susan.
The after repair value, if it's under 50,000, will this formula still working? Because 0.25% of after ARV is pretty high in the 50,000.
Would this formula work on $50,000 or less?
Yeah.
I think it would. Absolutely, I think it would. Your numbers are obviously going to be smaller, but I think it would. Sure. Yep. You may have to tweak it a little bit based on special circumstances. If you're dealing, let's face it, you're dealing with a $20,000 or $30,000 property. You're not talking about amenities in that particular asset that are going to be, you know, you may have a lot more repair if you're going to try to make it like the Taj Mahal. You may not be trying to do that, by the way. Okay? I guess that's the other point, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later here. When you're rehabbing, consider your market and consider your strategy. I want you to write this down. Number one, consider your market. Don't rehab over and above the most expensive property in the market, because you'll be pricing yourself out of the market. Number one. Number two, if you're in a buy and hold situation and you're rehabbing, make sure you're rehabbing to what is appropriate to the renter that would be coming into that home. Does that make sense? Don't put gold faucets in a property that you're going to have a renter in. You're spending money you don't need to spend. Okay, so take those two ideas into consideration when you are rehabbing a property. Yes? Say that again? Granite counters. Yes and no. Again, rehab to what's appropriate to the rental market. I think if that rental market, at the top end of that rental market is, you know, say $700, and whether it's granite countertops or Formica or whatever, then put in the Formica. But if you're having your team professionals say, hey, by doing this, you'll get $50 more in rent or $100 more in rent, put it in, okay? Again, when we were walking through the 4-unit rehab yesterday, I noticed that they had a wonderful closet off of the living room, and this particular unit was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. I know that you could probably get more money in rent by putting in a half bath, a toilet and a sink. A toilet and a sink would give you more money from a rental standpoint. So more cash flow and more value to the asset. Those are the things that you need to be thinking about. How do you utilize the correct space and add the correct amenities to what your play is on the property? Take those into consideration. Couple questions here. Yes?
Yesterday when we were talking to Bob, when we visited the home that needed a lot of rehabbing, and he said that one is for a flip. But he says if you do a flip, the rehab should be more because you're flipping and your target people will pay high money, but it needs to be.
Yeah.
But he says if you want it for a rental, then you lower your rehabbing costs. But let's say you want to do it for selling, but then it doesn't sell. So your second strategy is to rent it, but then you do.
Okay, so her question is, or statement is what more like, is the agent, when we were on the tour yesterday, said that on one of the places that we went, if you were going to rehab it, you should do it to the higher end because that's the target market. He said that, if you notice, because there was a pretty wide diversity of sales prices in that neighborhood. all the way from 115 to 290,000. And that's why he's saying that you should rehab it to where after the ARV comes in at 250, 260, 270, somewhere in there. If it won't sell, then yes, you would be renting it. But one of the things that you're going to make as a decision qualifier is what's the demand like in that particular market and what's the supply. You'll notice that Bob also talked about a diminishing supply. The demand was increasing and prices are going up. So chances are you're going to sell that property, but it might not sell at 280, maybe it sells at 270 or 260, but you're still in that range. If for some reason it didn't sell and you're going to rent it out, hopefully one of your contingency plans is to rent it out so that it cash flows and you could get higher rents because you've implemented that stuff. So that'd be kind of a secondary analysis that you would look at. Well, then if it doesn't cash flow, then you can't use that as a contingency. You've got a little bit more risk on that property then if it doesn't sell. Okay? Yes.
When you're referring to price, is that the price that you're buying this wholesale deal, or is it a price that you're selling?
A price that you're buying it. You're buying it. Anything else in the back? Okay.